Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome into our next to last week of Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Susan Jeffers, some incredible content today. A nice thick chapter. I love this. How to make a no lose decision. Incredible stuff in here. Incredible way of looking at things, changing your mindset. As always, I want to hear from you guys first. So, what do you got? What did you pick up out of the content, either today's or anything that we've been doing the last 2 weeks?
Be careful, you might make the wrong decision.
Yeah, there's a lot of that mindset going around, isn't there?
Yes, sorry.
So how do we? No, I love that you're an Apple user. So how do we address that? I mean, what's some of the ways in here? Because that's the core challenge is this mindset of, oh gosh, be careful, I might make a bad decision or wrong decision. And through this chapter, there really is no such thing. So elaborate on that a little, Evelyn.
Well, I just thought it was very interesting. And I love her examples, but she says there's really nothing to lose. I have always had that philosophy. I love to change and do new things. So, if it isn't working, I quit and I do something else. There's always something over here I want to try. So I have always done that, except for the last few years. And then I don't know, something popped up and I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid. So I'm working on that positive, it's okay, do it. And I think she's gone through all the examples for me. She's she's excellent.
Yeah, it's so interesting, this fear thing, and I'm going to push back a little bit on some of the content at the end of the chapter when we get there, and yet this beginning section of you can't make a quote wrong decision, and all this fear going into it, it's really the wrong part of the process. If you look at it as you know there could be trouble on either side of this equation. Think about your buyers buying a piece of real estate. I'm a renter and I'm going to turn into a buyer. Let's take a first-time buyer. All the fear that they're running on, gosh, if I stay a renter, I'm going to be losing equity. I'm not going to be making any money. I'm going to be making someone else rich. I'm never going to actually get out of this financial hole. And if I buy something, well, the market could go down. Interest rates are a problem. I might have repairs that I don't know about. All these fear-based conversations that are keeping them stuck. And changing that language instead to all the positives. Hey, I stay here as a renter. I got all the same security I have now. I got somebody else taking care of everything. If a problem shows up, I call somebody else to take care of it. That's really great stuff. And if I buy, I get to be an owner. I get to build equity. I get to start growing that American dream. I'm going to have some wealth. Either way, I win. Now let's make a decision which one I choose.
Right.
It's a radically different thought process and conversation. What else did you guys pull out of the content?
I'm doing it again now. I'm sorry.
Tell me about that, Dorothy, and then Celeste, I'm coming to you.
I have a background in the classics and teaching and languages and all that stuff, and I really shine in that area, and I love it. But I was teaching at one of the most high-end elite prep schools in the world that's extremely wealthy, and I was replacing the French teacher while she was on sabbatical. She was herself French. And the interview lasted 4 days. There wasn't a moment. If they could have figured out how to go to bed with me and keep interviewing, they would have. Anyway, the toughest part of it, I believe, and where a lot of people flunked, is She went through the hallway during roll call, mail call, where everybody was like this and there were pencils sticking out, throwing French over her shoulder. And I kept responding. And I thought, I bet you that was a test. She got to the other side and went, Anyway, I got the job. I got an evaluation. And I thought, they're paying me $17,500 plus room and board. Something's wrong with this picture. Why don't I have any money? So I have been uncomfortable studying real estate and scared and feeling like, and some people even said mean things to me or about me. And then I thought, yeah, I should quit. And I thought, F quit. I'm not quitting. I'm doing this. And now I have all kinds of great stuff going on. I know a lot of EXP agents. I've got a referral in Texas. I've got a referral in South Carolina. I've got a referral in New Hampshire. And I've got a referral in Amherst, Mass, which is too far away for me to work. And I found an agent who focuses on that. And by the way, she said, real estate is really easy next to my former job. Oh, what was that? Suicide prevention.
There you go.
I finally feel like I'm beginning to hit my stride and finding the niche where it works for me.
Yep.
And it's feeling finally a little bit comfortable. But boy, it sure has not been comfortable.
Good.
But
And it shouldn't be.
Because damn it, I'm worth more than $17,500.
Amen. Well, and as we learned in earlier chapters, if we're feeling comfortable, that means we're falling into complacency. We're actually not growing anymore. So just keep that in mind, that you keep pushing yourself, Dorothy. Celeste, what do you got?
Well, I really liked this chapter. It seemed like it resonated in a lot of ways with me, my backstory and all that. And specifically, the part that I liked the most was the guy who, on my page 137, which I realize I have an antique for a book, but we're talking about in the story, his book was called Actualizations. Stuart Emery presents an excellent model for changing your direction in life. He learned it while sitting on the flight deck of an airplane on the way to Honolulu. And in summary, it goes on to say that the pilot had explained that they would arrive in Hawaii on time in spite of having been in error 90% of the time. And it made me aware of my own career path and my own college experience. I went to 4 different colleges. I tried on multiple careers before I got into this business. And I really feel like I backed my way into the business because I had in my own head the idea that I had to wear, I still can't believe I think this way, but I used to think I had to wear a mustard colored jacket if I was a real estate agent, and I couldn't do it.
Well, that was only with that one other company. It's so fun that you're dating yourself, Celeste.
I am.
Here's one of the key
And
pieces.
today you have mustard behind you.
I know. What the heck?
Here's one of the key pieces of this story, though, that I want to make sure we anchor because it's part of my pushback at the end of the chapter. When a pilot gets in the cockpit, they've set the goal. They know where they're going. They are now going to do everything in their power to make the adjustments along the way to get there. So if they start getting off course, they don't go, gosh darn it, I'm not going the direction I want to go. I'm just going to turn around and go back. Or I'm going to, instead of going to San Francisco, gosh, since we're headed to Minneapolis, let's go there. It's constantly adjusting, staying focused, going to where you're going. And so I want to make sure, because you're all in this space, you're all in this room, and you're all in the real estate space pretty much. You guys have made a decision to be in this world. You've made a decision to grow in real estate, crank up your production. Now keep making the adjustments. Keep moving forward. He sure as heck doesn't just shut off the engine and go, gosh darn it, I'm just going to cut the engine since we aren't on course. Keep leaning into it, keep putting in the work, keep putting in the energy, keep making the adjustments. And by all means, staying with the analogy, keep calling for guidance. Your pilots will reach out to air traffic control to verify stats, their location, their ground speed. They have other people overseeing that know more than they do, that have more access to information, and so they can make that call and get that help. By the way, there's also this thing called PIREPs. This is pilots letting other pilots know what's going on. Kind of like this room. So I love the analogy that was in the book, and thank you for bringing it to the surface here. And I just want to make sure we know that we're never stopping the path that we're on in this room. We're just going to keep making adjustments.
It's a
Hey,
What
great
else?
chapter.
You know what,
Great
Russ,
chapter.
just to add on
Yeah,
to that
go
analogy,
Camacho, and then I hear another voice after that.
sometimes, I mean, you got thunderstorms sometimes that you got to go completely around. You have ice storms that you can't land. Sometimes there's fog and you can't land in your destination, and you've got to call an audible and go to a different airport. So it's not just simply, I mean, you got to be aware, and we're going to have obstacles, right? We're going to have clients who change their mind. We're going to have deals that fall through. Agent attraction, you're going to have people that don't want you to ever call them again. It's just, how are we going to bounce back from that?
Amen. Amen. There was another male voice, I thought, at the same time Mr. Camacho was speaking. A husky female voice.
Yeah, this is Jen. It wasn't
I'll
me
take it,
before,
Jen.
but so I really love this chapter too, because I think after having lived through the recession and kind of that struggle, there's this constant fear of making the right decisions to never land in that scenario again, even though some of that was obviously outside of our control. But on page 109, I highlighted, if you're focused on the way it's supposed to be, you might miss the opportunity to enjoy the way it is, or to have it be wonderful in a totally different way from what you imagined. And then to take it a step further, I love down below where she said, hoping makes us uneasy since we are invested in a particular outcome, yet wondering makes us curious and open to whatever happens. And that really hit home for me, because just changing that language and not worrying so much about having this idea in my mind of like how it should be, and just enjoying the process, I guess, and what happens.
Well, I also like that you're picking up this change in language. We talk about that and have for years in this room, that the language that comes out is our natural programming showing up, and the language we choose is how we rewrite that programming. So last week, or maybe even earlier this week, we talked about frustration and changing that to fascination. Just that change of language changes the energy. And this, I love this, because hope, I hear people say hope all the time, and just taking every one of those sentences in here. I hope I'll get promoted, to I wonder if I'll get promoted. I hope my friends will be impressed, to I wonder if my friends will be impressed. It's a totally different energy that removes the expectation, because most of your misery, most of your suffering is just unrealized expectations. Having a specific end result in a specific time frame, and you don't achieve it and you get frustrated, or somebody gets in the way and you get frustrated, or the real estate agent doesn't do his job, so the house doesn't close and you get frustrated. And instead getting fascinated, looking for solutions, moving from hope to wonder, again, creates solutions. I'm so excited for the solutions ahead for all of you. Who else?
I do.
Go, Evelyn.
I was really interested in confusion and dissatisfaction being clues. It's the inner clues that help you know when it's time to make a correction. And it just says, considering negative instead of positives I know this is hard to accept, but in an upset in your life is beneficial. So,
Yeah, that those things that don't go quite the way you want them are beneficial. I loved her piece in there that for some of us, maybe just maybe we're in a negative place because we haven't had that learning experience of those darkest moments, the divorce, the bankruptcy. I mean, there were a whole list of things in there that those people that have gone through that have a different perspective of just how bad it can get. Celeste, I saw your hand going.
Well, I think part of this is, and this is just my version of it, but I think it's about maturity. Realizing life is not perfect is a growth that you go through. How you grow, everybody's story is different. Mine was realizing I had idolized my sister. She just happens to be here this week. But I mean, I remember back when I thought there was nothing she could do wrong. And when I failed out of my first year in college, she had the conversation with me. And she's like, "Do you not think everyone in this family has had their moments, their fails?" And I'm like, "Well, I didn't know about them, so I didn't think they existed." And she's the one who I had that conversation with. And I feel so lucky that she had that conversation with me because it let me give myself, okay, a permission, grace, whatever you want to call it, to go, okay, I didn't do well, but that doesn't mean I have to stay there. And I'm now knowing that my son, who doesn't have siblings, doesn't have a lot of those stories. And so I realized when he wasn't loving this career path he started on, he was worried about talking to me and saying, "Mom, I just don't like it." And when he finally had that conversation, I said, "It's fine. If you don't love it, it's not anything about you. It's just it wasn't your choice. It's not something you want. It's okay to try something else." I'm telling you, it was like the weight of the world was lifted off of him. So each of us, like we all have our challenges, and we do finally realize we've been comparing ourselves perhaps to someone who has tons of experience. That's not fair to you. Well, you got to just do you. And that last book we read, The Gap and the Gain, I am every day discovering I am stating things about the gap instead of realizing, shut the up, move to the gain. We all have gains. Think about, how did you measure from when you started to where you are now? That's the gain. You're moving forward. You're just pissing on the stuff that didn't go right. Anyways, that's my take on this.
Well, and phenomenal, Celeste. And that gain, by the way, can even be something ugly, horrible, can still be a gain because what it's doing for you in the moment.
Yeah.
When I was at that bottom with litigation and financial distress and everything else, I finally, thank goodness, I had a wonderful coach in my back pocket, helped me for 4 years up to it. That final filing was a gain. It was finally putting that behind me. It was finally putting a path in place, though it was a hard decision. Think about that for filing for divorce. So many people are told, "Oh gosh, that's a failure." And yet that filing is a gain, that you're finally on the path to freedom.
Mm.
You're finally choosing not to suffer. You're finally taking the power. So I love that you've linked this back to that book. And I just want to go back to the very first page of this, because this opening was phenomenal for me, because I see so many people in this place of, I've got a decision to make, like Celeste's son had a decision to make to talk to her. And Lord knows how long that was brewing in his head.
Exactly.
And he finally pulled the trigger and did it. Yet I see people time and time and time again never actually make a decision. And right here in the beginning, the irony, of course, is that by not choosing, we are choosing. We're choosing to starve. We're choosing to stay put. So when you don't make a choice, you are still making a choice. And I'd really love for you to maybe get in touch in that moment with what the ramifications are of staying put. What else do you guys have?
I have something to add there too.
You
Russ,
got
I
it,
like
Caesar. And then I heard one more.
the I hope to the I wonder makes such a difference when she breaks it down. I hope I get promoted to I wonder if I get promoted. It's a great energy shift. And then I also wanted to add on page 113 when she breaks down the no lose decision step by step to the no win decision. Oh my gosh, it causes anxiety just reading the no win decision of how she step by step says focus on the no win model. Listen to your mind drive you crazy. Paralyze yourself with anxiety. Just like reading to it like causes anxiety, and it makes you aware of when you are in that mindset or when you're making a decision, you're like, oh, and you get paralyzed. Especially even myself, I'm more inclined to be an analytic person that you get paralyzed right by all this data and then you don't really make a decision. So that really hit home. So it was like a cool distinction of how she broke it down, even though she broke it down earlier in the chapter.
Well, and I love this page, so I want to at least read it in, Caesar, the no lose decision-making process, because that's the one that we want to be on. The no win decision-making process, what we've traditionally done and what we've been taught. It's all the fear-based, be cautious, be careful, overanalyze, get it. 5-step no lose decision-making process. Number 1, focus on the no lose model. You're going to find out what's great on both sides. Number 2, do your homework. Do a little research. I came up with another great idea this morning on how I want to get this escrow closed, and I'm going to do my research first. Establish your priorities. Know exactly what you want. Trust your impulses. There's one that probably challenges a lot of people. When you have that impulse, that little voice inside your head that says, take the risk. Are you believing in it? And finally, number 5, lighten up. It ain't all that serious. Whatever's in front of you in the grand scheme of things isn't all that serious. And as we've mentioned before, a wonderful big book with just a couple of words that mean so much that are 100% accurate. This too shall pass. Whatever it is, whatever's going great, right now you're hitting on all cylinders. Things are awesome, I promise you. This too will pass. There'll be a time when you stumble. And when you're in the depths and things aren't going well, and it's not just no, this too shall pass. You keep in the activity and magic will happen. Now, I'd heard another male voice when Caesar was chirping in.
Yeah, that was me. I was just going to ask if the new version of the book, when you were talking about the opening, making decisions, does it have the analogy about the donkey?
That is the donkey that leads into it. Yep.
Yeah, I really like that. And the other thing, this off-course model, the line, of course I've got this background on, the line that keeps correcting back and forth. This reminds me, I read the book, I think it's called The Straight Line Sales System. It's a book by Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street. And that's how he explains selling to another individual. Like, we're here and we want to take them there, and they are trying to veer to the left and to the right. And our job as a salesperson is to bring them back to the line and make it as straight as possible from point A to point B. And I'm seeing this book as just an analogy for how to do that with myself, for myself.
Excellent. And by the way, what are some of the ways, Justin, for you, when you've gotten off course, that you've gotten back on course?
I think I've been off course like most of my whole life. Kind of just like that picture, like that straight line picture. So I think the biggest key for me to getting back on track or on course is to just forgive myself and correct. Just stop, analyze what is it that I should be doing, to get what I want that I'm not doing. And let's go do that. This morning it was get up and go for a walk.
Well, I
Sounds
will
like
give.
talking to your coach would be a good one too.
What was that, Caesar?
Sounds like talking to your coach would be a good one too.
And that's what I want to celebrate with Justin, because he does. Justin picks up the phone and calls or texts and says, "Hey, coach, I have a question." And on more than one occasion, has there been a bit of a fierce conversation, Justin?
Yep.
And it's okay, because we're doing a course correction together, and you guys do the same thing with your kids, and it's out of love, it's out of care, it's out of compassion, and yet you're still maybe having a tough conversation with them to get them going the right way. And so I want to implore you again. You've got people in this room, you've got leaders in this space like Camacho, myself. Ryan is so growing into leadership. It's been a joy to watch him kick butt and take names in that, and lots of others. Caesar, man, always bringing great nuggets to the room. And you may even have folks that are parallel with you, or even, quote, subordinate in the organization. Call and ask for help. And the only thing I want to make sure is we don't go back a chapter and it turns into a pity party. So this is where we're asking for help and we're not going to dig our heels in. Okay.